Caitlin Clark will suffer consequences like Michael Jordan as Celtics legends address Indiana Brawl. That's our era of basketball. Pretty much like the girls, if you notice over the last couple years, they've been a little more chippy than the men. Paul Pierce, on the recent episode of his podcast, admitted that the physical of the WNBA always existed. Once again, the new season of the W brings back the question from last season. Do other players really hate Caitlin Clark? But the truth and his longtime teammate feel otherwise, and compared the recent situation of the Fever guard with Michael Jordan. The 2024 ROTY in the W received a fair share of physical checks from her opponent throughout the season. So coming into the sophomore season, CC knew it wouldn't be easy once again, so she was prepared with toned muscles and a bit more endurance. But in the game against the Connecticut Sun, it was another reality check for the Des Moines native. Her physical training couldn't have helped her against J.C. Sheldon's antics in the third quarter. As Clark tried to make a pass, Sheldon poked her in the eye, a move that sent Clark reeling back, grabbing her face. It resulted in a foul, which was upgraded to a flagrant one. It's not the regular physical matchup one would expect on the court, but the Celtics duo, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, see this as a sign of respect for CC. The truth first shared. She get targeted. It's like Jordan got targeted. KG immediately seconded that thought process and said, "It's a privilege. You're the best player." Pierce then shared an analogy. Best describes the situation. They have the Jordan rules. When you're so good, you gotta get targeted. It just is what it is. Come on, man. That's you gotta like when you at disadvantage. For context, the Jordan rules was a famous strategy by the bad boys of the Detroit Pistons to limit the scoring of Michael Jordan. They would do so by being an extra physical, often aggressive approach to defending his airness, aiming to disrupt his rhythm. Understanding the reference to the Jordan rules, Kevin Garnett also applauded Caitlin Clark and her ability. It's a privilege though. It's a privilege to be in a position where others are hating on you. And when others are hating on you, that mean you're doing something right? You know what I'm saying. The Big Ticket dropped the words of wisdom on their podcast. How Caitlin Clark's response compares to Michael Jordan's, a legendary rivalry that stood as the biggest barrier to the championship aspirations of the Chicago Bulls until the 1991 ECF. After landing 3 consecutive playoff exits, coupled with physical suffering, the Jordan-led Bulls finally got revenge. Sweeping Detroit 4-0 in the 1991 ECF, Chicago punched its first-ever NBA Finals ticket. MJ had to make adjustments, which he certainly did. I spent a lot of time looking at the film last week to figure out a way to beat the Jordan rules. Former Bulls star B.J. Armstrong explained in detail. But he made an adjustment, Armstrong said. He figured out he had to catch the ball in position to score, and he caught it because his footwork was so good he could score in many ways. He was skilled enough to adapt to any situation. The 1991 win was the start of the Bulls dynasty that we know now. Similarly, Caitlin Clark doesn't want the physicality aspect of the opponents to turn to an excuse. The night was unusually electric at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Indiana Fever were hosting the New York Liberty, and Caitlin Clark, the sensational rookie who had taken the WNBA by storm, was locked in one of her fiercest battles yet. She wasn't just the Golden Girl anymore. Not since the Indiana Brawl. In the third quarter of a physical, chippy game, things exploded. A hard foul from a veteran Liberty forward sparked a shoving match that escalated into a full-blown melee. Clark, caught in the center, didn't back down. In fact, she pushed back, literally and figuratively, showing a fire that divided fans and lit up headlines. The fallout was immediate. Suspensions, fines, endless debate. And then the legends began to speak. The shadow of greatness. She's going to suffer the consequences of greatness, said Celtics icon Paul Pierce in a segment on national television. Same way NG did. When you're that good, that hyped, they stop calling fouls. They start testing you. And if you push back, you're the villain. Kevin Garnett agreed, his voice carrying the heat of his own storied battles. Clark's got that dog. But make no mistake, the league's going to try to humble her. Refs, vets, even some of her own. They'll test her resolve, bruise her, bully her. just like they did to Jordan in the 80s. The difference? NJ had to learn how to use that. The comparison wasn't accidental, and it wasn't without merit. Clark had already led the NCAA in scoring, shattered records,